At the banquet, the imperial decree announcing the marriage between me and my childhood sweetheart arrived. He knelt on the ground, hesitating to accept it. As the guests murmured in astonishment, my father roared in fury, "Young Marquis Meng, do you dare defy the imperial command openly?" Meng Jian slowly raised his head. When our eyes met, the gaze he cast upon me was utterly distant. That single glance told me he, too, had been reborn. The next moment, his clear voice rang out. I never harbored any feelings for the second young miss of the Earl's household. It was she who clung to me relentlessly these past years. Now, must I be forced into marriage by the Empress Dowager's decree? Closing my eyes, I endured the piercing pain. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine. Upon returning to his youth, Meng Jian's first act was to sever all ties between us. If that was his wish, then I would grant it. Thus, when I opened my eyes again, my voice was calm. The Empress Dowager's decree only states, I must marry a son of the Meng family. It does not specify which one. If you have no desire to marry me, then return home and inform your eldest brother. Let him come. The moment my words fell, a flicker of astonishment crossed Meng Jian's face. He already knew I had returned alongside him. After a brief pause, he curled his lips in derision. He meowed. Are you mocking me? I replied calmly, of course not. Meng Jian raised an eyebrow, his gaze as cold as in our past life. You truly intend to marry my sickly elder brother? Don't blame me for not warning you. The imperial physicians have long declared he won't live past 20. If you marry him, you'll be a widow in life for the rest of your days. As his words fell, the crowd erupted in an uproar. How could this be? I've long heard that the eldest son of this marquis's household, born of the legitimate line, has been a prodigy since childhood, exceptionally gifted in both the literary and martial arts. He stands as a rare luminary among the descendants of princes and marquises. It was only later, due to his seclusion within the estate year after year, that he gradually faded from public view. Yet who could have imagined that the next news of him would be the grim tidings of his impending demise? Heaven envies talent. Heaven envies talent. Upon hearing the Grand Counselor's words, my father hastened to dissuade me. Meowie. Do not act so impulsively just to spite others. Seeing this, Meng Jian's gaze toward me held a hint of smug satisfaction. You still have time to reconsider. Though I cannot grant you the position of principal wife, I might reluctantly accept you as a concubine. His words sent a wave of fury through my father, his form swaying unsteadily. You insolent brat. How dare you utter such blasphemy? Suggesting the legitimate daughter of this esteemed earl's household become your concubine? Meeting Meng Jian's gaze, I wrenched the jade bracelet from my wrist and hurled it violently onto the floor. A sharp, crisp sound echoed. Gazing at the shattered bracelet on the ground, the crowd collectively gasped. Everyone knew this jade bracelet was a rare piece of raw jade Meng Jian had personally sought for an entire month in the northern frontier. He then spent 100 days carving it, polishing it through countless sleepless nights. Finally, at my coming-of-age ceremony, he placed it on my wrist with his own hands. All these years, this bracelet had been the proof of our mutual affection. A moment of silence hung in the air. Meng Jian stared at the shattered jade on the floor in disbelief. His voice gritted through clenched teeth. He meowie. You. I retorted sharply, my bond with the young marquis is like this jade, utterly severed. It was rare to see such a blank expression on Meng Jian's face. After a moment, as if finding it absurd, he laughed bitterly. Fine. 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 I'll return immediately to inform my elder brother and welcome you into our home. I bowed slightly, then I'll leave that to your highness. Veins pulsed on Meng Jian's temples. Closing his eyes, he spoke with unbearable frustration. Don't regret this. With that, he flung his robe and strode away without looking back. In my previous life, after marrying Meng Jiayan, we lived as a harmonious couple for several years, united in heart and mind. He once showered me with every conceivable affection, cherishing me like a precious treasure. Until the 3rd year of our marriage, when I became pregnant, everything changed abruptly. From some unknown point onward, Meng Jiayan began returning home after curfew whenever he left court, his robes perpetually tainted with the smoke and grime of the marketplace. Whenever I pressed him for an explanation, he would only respond with impatience. My official duties are demanding, how could you, a leisurely woman, possibly understand? Only later did I learn that his first stop after court each night was to visit Du Sanyang, who ran a wonton shop on the city outskirts. When I discovered this, he stopped pretending altogether, declaring openly his intent to bring Sanyang into the mansion. By then, my due date was near. Too weak to argue, I relented. Little did I know, Du Sanyang possessed an indomitable spirit. She declared she'd rather be the wife of a humble man than the concubine of a noble house. Meng Jiayan understood that allowing her into the mansion was already a concession. Moreover, given her background, gaining entry to the Marquis's residence was an exceptional act of grace. The two had a fierce argument over this. The night Third Lady Du stormed out of the city with her bundles. She stumbled upon rebel soldiers. After the tragic news reached him, Meng Jiayan became a hollow shell. Even on the day I gave birth, he sat lifelessly in the ancestral hall, refusing to leave his quarters. In my previous life, at the very end, as he lay dying, his friend came to visit and asked if there were any regrets in his life. Holding our child's hand, I stood outside the crimson gauze window, listening as he whispered his final obsession. I should have given her the title of legitimate wife. After the guests had all departed, Father looked at me with deep concern. Miaoyi, are you truly intent on marrying into the Marquis's household, to that eldest son who clings to life only through medicinal soups? I slowly nodded. Father's voice trembled with emotion. Your elder brother now serves far away at the frontier. You are the only child left by my side. How can I ever face your mother in the afterlife? His eyes grew increasingly red. I hurriedly tried to comfort him. Father, don't believe that hypocrite Meng Jiayan's words. That Meng family's eldest son has always surpassed him in both scholarship and martial arts since childhood. He's also the legitimate first son of the Marquis's household. Meng Jiayan must be speaking out of jealousy. Meng Jiayan's eldest son has at most some minor ailments and injuries. Really? Truly? Seeing my certainty, Father's agitated mood finally calmed somewhat. I dared not tell Father that. In truth, Meng Jiayan's words were not untrue. In my past life, the eldest son of the Meng family did indeed die young. At the time, many came from the capital to mourn him. The reason I insisted on marrying him was because, in my past life, besides Meng Jiayan and his birth mother, only I knew the true cause of the eldest son's death. This time around, I would change his fate with my own hands. On the way out of the estate, I dozed off in the carriage. Shunzi, the driver, slammed on the brakes so abruptly that the carriage lurched, jolting me awake. Shunzi's angry voice came from outside the curtain. Miss, we've run into a shakedown. Frowning, I lifted the curtain and stepped out of the carriage. Lady of the manor, you incited the driver to run someone over in broad daylight. Ouch! My leg! My leg! Shunzi scowled, berating the man sprawled on the ground. You crook! Stop lying! You suddenly darted in front of our carriage and collapsed. I didn't even touch you. The man adopted a brazen, roguelike posture. I don't care. Your young mistress isn't paying up today. And you're not leaving. Seeing Shunzi roll up his sleeves, ready to charge forward, I quickly signaled him to stop with a glance. If you beat him up in the street today, you'd only be playing into his hands. letting him demand an exorbitant sum. It would also bring the Earl's household a reputation for bullying men and women. Shunzi clenched his fists. His face twisted with resentment. Are we just going to let this slide? I sighed softly. Today, I had important matters entrusted to me by my father. Plus, as an unmarried woman, it was simply inappropriate for me to argue with Zhang the porcelain face in public. So, resigning myself to the situation, I spoke coldly. How much do you want? Just then, a clear voice rang out from nearby. We don't want a single penny. The words barely left her mouth when a woman wearing a conical hat stepped out of the crowd. After helping Ceramic Zhang up from the ground, she scolded him with disappointment. Brother, can't you stop doing these heartless things? As soon as she finished, she was shoved violently to the ground. You good-for-nothing woman. Mind your own damn business. Still not satisfied, he delivered 2 heavy kicks to her body. You ruined my night at the brothel. The crowd grew larger. As Zhang was about to strike the woman on the ground again, I quickly signaled to Shunzi. Shunzi swiftly subdued him. The man shot us a vicious glare before slinking away in defeat. Just as I moved to help the woman who'd rescued us, the sound of galloping hooves echoed behind us. A cloud of dust billowed. Meng Jiayan pulled hard on the reins and dismounted. He beat me to helping the woman up. When he saw the extensive bruises covering her body and the muddy footprints on her clothes, he sucked in a sharp breath. His eyes brimmed with uncontrollable heartache. Then, he turned his head. His gaze landed on Shunzi, who had rolled up his sleeves behind me. His expression instantly turned icy. Suddenly, I realized something. But before I could speak, his hand struck my face with a sharp slap. He glared at me, his voice fierce. He meowie. You venomous woman. I knew you'd come back to cause trouble for third sister. The force of that slap was immense. A deafening ringing even echoed in my ears. I staggered backward several steps before Shunzi steadied me. Miss. Are you all right? After a long moment, my blurred vision gradually cleared. Before me, Meng Jiayan pulled the woman into his embrace. Third sister. I've finally found you. It's my fault I came too late. This lifetime, I'll never let you suffer again. The woman called third sister by Meng Jiayan struggled free from his arms and rose. She removed the bamboo hat from her head. A delicate, beautiful face was revealed before everyone. Her face flushed as she spoke. Young master. How did you know my maiden name? So it was due third sister. I closed my eyes, taking several deep breaths to suppress the piercing ache in my heart. Beside me, Du third sister tugged lightly at his sleeve. Young Master Meng, you've misunderstood this young lady. It was she who came to my rescue just now. Meng Jiayan froze for a moment. When he caught sight of the swollen handprint on my cheek, a flicker of remorse crossed his eyes. He took a few steps toward me. Extending his hand, I turned my face away. I'm sorry. I wronged you in this matter. Memories of my past life flooded back. A bitter ache welled up inside me. My hands clenched tightly. My nails dug into my palms as I fought back the piercing pain. As we passed each other, I paused and spoke softly. Young Marquis, since you've rekindled your old love, Miaowie wishes you fulfillment of your lifelong wish in this life. As the words fell, the light in Meng Jiayan's eyes turned dark. But I refused to spare him another glance. That night, Shunzi, the servant I'd sent to spy on the Marquis's residence, returned. He stammered hesitantly. Young miss. I snuck into the courtyard of the eldest son of the Meng family. I heard him. He said. I set down my teacup. What did he say? Shunzi closed his eyes, steeled himself, and spoke. The eldest son of the Meng family said he refuses to marry you. Miss. I merely raised an eyebrow, unconcerned. Rising to the desk, I dipped my brush in ink and wrote a letter with fluid strokes. Shunzi. Deliver this letter to the Meng family's eldest son. Shunzi asked, shouldn't we add something? Like urging the eldest son to reconsider? I gave an almost imperceptible curl of the lip. No need. Just deliver this letter. Within 7 days, he will come to the He household to propose. Several days later, a servant reported a woman outside the mansion wishing to see me. Upon stepping out, I discovered the visitor was none other than Du Sanyang. Our eyes met, and she spoke to me in a calm tone. Miss He, I know you and the young Marquis grew up together, sharing countless memories. But now he has come to love me. As a noble lady of high standing, you surely understand propriety and decency. I beg you, do not cling to him. I sensed the hint of jealousy lurking in her eyes. I curled my lips in scorn. When have you ever seen me cling to him? Oh. Then what is this? With that, Du Sanyang drew a jade pendant tied with a red cord from her sleeve. Recognizing it as the heirloom my mother had left me, I lunged forward in an instant. Reaching out. Give it back! She shifted slightly, and I lunged at empty air. As I turned away, Du Sanyang watched me with a cold smile. If you hadn't been clinging to the young Marquis, why would you have left such a personal item with him? Wasn't it so he'd think of you every time he saw this jade? I know all about a young girl's little schemes, no need to lie to me. I was momentarily speechless, yet feared she might accidentally drop the jade pendant. I could only suppress my surging anger and patiently speak. This jade pendant was given to Meng Qingyan on the day of my coming-of-age ceremony. I simply forgot to ask for it back. It is a keepsake left to me by my mother. I implore you, Miss Du, to return it to me. Very well. Her agreement was swift. Yet as my hand neared the jade pendant, she raised it high once more. Only if you swear never to trouble the young Marquis again shall I return it to you. Seeing her stance, as if she'd never relent unless I made that vow, I closed my eyes, raised a finger, and spoke with unbearable resolve. He Miaoi. Swear to heaven, should I ever again entangle myself with Meng Jiayan in the slightest. May I never. Before I could finish, a sudden voice cut me off. Wait. A flicker of defiance danced in her eyes. I want you to swear on your father's longevity. If Miss He breaks her promise, your esteemed lord shall not live past 50. What say you? My eyelid twitched violently. The rage I'd been suppressing erupted like a thunderclap. I yanked her collar with brutal force, my voice cold and menacing as it squeezed through clenched teeth. Du Haitang, are you seeking death? She curved her lips slowly. Miss He, did third mother grow up on fear? As if guided by intuition, I glanced to her right. Before the word don't could leave my mouth, she released her grip. The jade pendant fell to the ground, shattering instantly into 2 pieces. Instinctively, I loosened my hold on Du Sanyang's collar and picked up the 2 shards of broken jade. A dull ache gnawed at my heart like 100 ants. Mother, I'm sorry. It's my fault. I couldn't even protect the keepsake you left for your daughter. Tears trickled slowly down my cheeks. Seeing my anguish, Du Sanyang couldn't help but let out a soft laugh. A jade pendant? Is it really worth it? The Earl's mansion has every rare treasure imaginable. Miss He, you sure know how to put on a show. Cry your heart out. I'm leaving now. But remember my warning. I pressed the shattered jade to my chest, my eyes flashing with bone-chilling hatred. You think you'll walk out of the Earl's mansion unscathed today? Du Sanyang? As Du Sanyang froze in shock, several guards instantly surrounded her. As the guards drew their swords and advanced, fear finally crept onto her face, and she stumbled backward. How dare you? Before she could finish, she spun around and collided with Meng Jiayan, who had just arrived. Seeing Meng Jiayan, The fear in Du Sanyang's eyes vanished instantly. She threw herself into his arms, sobbing. Ian, save me! That He family's daughter wants to kill me. Sanyang, don't be afraid. I'm here. No one will touch you. Meng Jiayan gently patted her back, his voice soft and comforting. Yet when his gaze lifted to meet mine, his eyes were icy and stern, as if furious that I had touched his people. Meng Qingyan swiftly knocked all the guards to the ground in a few swift moves. His techniques were brutal, each strike fueled by vengeance. Beside him, Du Sanyang couldn't help but applaud. After a chorus of groans, Meng Qingyan stepped before me, his voice icy. He miaoyi. If you dare bully Sanyang again, I will not forgive you. I raised my wrist and without a word, slapped him across the face. Meng Jiayan's expression darkened abruptly. As I raised my hand toward his cheek again, he seized it midair. He sneered. Never ending, is it? I struggled several times, but his grip only tightened. Meng Jiayan stared at my furious expression, a hint of smugness in his eyes. He miaoyi. You've been picking on Sanyang time and again, isn't it just jealousy? I've told you, if you'd just bow your head, this young master could grant you the honor of being a concubine. I spat in his face. Don't disgust me. Meng Jiayan's expression darkened. He wiped the spit from his face and shoved me violently. I staggered backward several steps until I collided with the cold stone pillar behind me. His voice boomed harshly. Are you still dreaming my elder brother will come marry you? Let me tell you, he's already informed my father of his refusal to wed you. Meng Jiayan pressed against me, gripping my jaw tightly with a sneer. He miaoyi. You're pitiful. Even after reincarnating, not even a dying invalid wants to marry you. I stared fixedly at his face, feeling nothing but bitter irony. The moment his words fell, a cold, stern voice suddenly rang out from behind us. Meng Jiayan, what do you intend to do to your future sister-in-law? My eyelids fluttered. Meng Jiayan exclaimed in disbelief. Big brother, how are you here? Meng Jing narrowed his eyes, his gaze fixed on Meng Jiayan's hand gripping my arm. His lowered brow carried a palpable sense of pressure. Meng Jiayan's expression stiffened as he slowly released his hold on me. The next moment, Meng Jing spoke calmly, I've come to propose marriage. At these words, Meng Jiayan's expression abruptly changed. What? You're proposing marriage? But you're almost. Meng Jing raised an eyebrow. Almost what? Dying? Meng Jiayan abruptly fell silent. As if suddenly realizing something, he turned his face and gave me a lingering, somber look. Then, at Meng Jing's command, a line of servants behind him began carrying an endless stream of betrothal gifts, pouring into the He residence. The Meng family's offerings were exceptionally lavish, 64 palanquins full, the highest ceremonial standard. I looked at Meng Jing before me with some surprise. His eyes sparkled with amusement. What? Miss, he seems quite taken aback. Weren't you eagerly awaiting my proposal? My lips twitched involuntarily. I shot back sarcastically. Refusing to be outdone, seems Brother Ming's illness has cleared up. Eh? Meng Jing smiled meaningfully. All thanks to Miss He's blessings. Oh. And what thanks have I received? He feigned surprise. Is pledging myself not enough? His shamelessness made me laugh in exasperation. The next moment, Meng Jiayan, ignored throughout, snapped out. Teeth gritted. Brother. What do you mean? You know full well I've been childhood sweethearts with Miaoyi since we were kids. Yet now you want to propose to her? Meng Jing scoffed. If I hadn't been leading troops with my father since I was 12, do you think the role of childhood sweetheart would have fallen to you? His gaze swept over Du Sanyang beside Meng Jiayan, glinting with a sinister light. Besides, haven't you already made your choice? Sensing danger, Meng Jiayan instinctively shielded Du Sanyang behind him. So what? The whole world knows Miaoi has adored me for years. Even if I intend to take Sanyang as my primary wife, that he Miaoi should become my concubine. Meng Jiayan's shameless words nearly made me doubt my own ears. Who would have thought that after living another lifetime, he'd become even more shameless than before? I opened my mouth in fury. But before I could speak, Meng Jing suddenly kicked him several meters away. You leave on your own. Or shall I see you out? Meng Jiayan clutched his chest and coughed up a large mouthful of blood. Seeing this, Du Sanyang instantly burst into tears, running over to help him up. After the two left, I brought Meng Jing into the mansion. The moment my father saw the Meng family's eldest son, with his imposing bearing and dignified demeanor, he saw no sign of the rumored impending demise. He immediately agreed to the marriage proposal. Our wedding was set for the 15th of next month. After that day, I didn't see Meng Jiayan for quite some time. Yet the gossip in town about him and Du Sanyang never ceased. I heard that a few days ago, several gambling houses publicly plastered a stack of IOUs on the Meng residence's main gate. This drew quite a crowd of townspeople. Old Marquis Meng was so enraged his beard practically twisted sideways. Upon investigation, it turned out Du Sanyang's good-for-nothing elder brother had run up a mountain of gambling debts at the houses under Meng Jiayan's name. The next day, I left the mansion to buy cosmetics. On the street, I happened upon the two of them arguing fiercely. Both flushed crimson. I told you not to meddle with that good-for-nothing brother of yours. Why won't you ever listen? Du Sanyang shouted at Meng Jiayan, her eyes red. Meng Jiayan, how could you say such a thing? He is my brother. After all, the sole male heir of the Du family. My parents still depend on him to carry on the family line. Are you trying to make me bear the sin of filial disobedience? Meng Jiayan clenched his fists. Your brother's reputation for bullying people and abducting women under my name is spreading like wildfire throughout the capital. Seeing Du Sanyang weeping like a rain-soaked pear blossom before him, his tone softened slightly. You know father made me kneel in the ancestral hall for 7 straight days over this. Can't you just understand me? If you let him continue his reckless ways, father will never consent to your marriage. No sooner had the words left his mouth. Instead of calming down, Du Sanyang raised her hand and slapped him across the face in full view of everyone. Do you think Du Sanyang, actually want to enter the Meng family gates? Zhou Jiayan froze like a piece of wood, clutching his cheek as he stared at Du Sanyang in disbelief. Then he heard her voice, cold and sharp. Don't think I don't know. Those troublemakers constantly causing chaos at my dumpling shop lately, you hired them. You're just afraid I'll show my face in public and embarrass you. Young Marquis Meng, aren't you? Let me tell you this, Du Sanyang, will never be your caged canary, kept hidden away in your mansion. Zhou Jiayan dropped the hand covering his right cheek, his rage boiling over into a bitter laugh. Du Haitang, what are you playing at now? Pretending to be so high and mighty? If you're so principled, then hand back all those promissory notes I repaid for your brother. Du Sanyang's face flushed crimson at his words. Before leaving, she spat out one last sentence, rest assured. Du Sanyang, will repay this debt even if I have to work myself to death. After she departed, Zhou Jiayan vented his fury by kicking pebbles on the ground several times. He then shouted in angry get lost at the crowd gathered to watch the spectacle. After the crowd dispersed, standing in the middle of the road, my gaze slowly met his. His Adam's apple bobbed as he looked at me with a dark expression and called out, Miaoi. Without hesitation, I turned and walked away. Zhou Jiayan swiftly ran to catch up. He grabbed my arm, Miaoi. Why are you avoiding me? Frowning, I shook off his hand. I am now your elder brother's betrothed. I ask that you, young Marquis, conduct yourself with dignity. Perhaps the words elder brother's betrothed stung him, for a flash of crimson appeared at the corner of Meng Jiayan's eyes. Must you sulk with me like this? I froze. What do you mean by that? Meng Jiayan crossed his arms, lowering his gaze at me with a touch of arrogance. Meowie. Don't pretend with me. After 2 lifetimes. Do you think I can't see through you? You wanted to marry my elder brother just to make me jealous and regretful. Didn't you? After speaking, he paused, as if deep in thought. You saw what happened earlier. After all, third sister is just a common woman with little education. Reasoning with her is exhausting. Someone so short-sighted would never shoulder the responsibilities of the Meng family's matriarch. I stared at him and scoffed. So? He grabbed my hand abruptly. Therefore, I've decided to make you my primary wife. After all, in my previous life, you managed the household so efficiently, you're quite experienced. Let third sister be a concubine. He added. But you mustn't repeat your past mistakes, acting jealous and bullying third sister. My voice shot up, Meng Jiayan. How dare you? My shoulders shook uncontrollably with rage. The next second, he pressed my shoulders and pulled me into his embrace. There. I know you're thrilled I'm the one bowing to you. Look how excited you are, even your body's trembling. Me. Words were useless. Moments later, summoning every ounce of strength, I raised my foot and delivered a vicious kick to his groin. A deafening howl of agony erupted. Lifting my skirt, I sprinted away. On the 15th day of the first lunar month, Meng Jing and I were married. The ceremony was grand. Firecrackers crackled. Lanterns and decorations adorned the halls. After the ceremony, I sat anxiously in the bridal chamber, waiting for Meng Jing. Before long, the bedroom door creaked open. I instinctively held my breath. Next, the veil was lifted by the scale rod. First came a pair of thin lips, then a high nose. I lifted my eyes and unexpectedly met Meng Jing's smiling gaze. His deep voice sounded. My lady, have you been waiting long? For some reason, I suddenly recalled my first meeting with Meng Jing in my previous life. He wore white robes, calling me sister-in-law faintly across the crowd. Back then, I saw the aloof and distant aura surrounding him and dared not speak further. Yet now, in the blink of an eye, I had become his wife. The thought made my cheeks flush for no apparent reason. Meng Jing sat down beside me with natural ease. Just as the atmosphere grew awkward, he turned his head toward me and asked abruptly, Why? I froze. Why what? Meng Jing's gaze suddenly deepened. Why did you help me? Why did you write that letter? Telling me about Meng Jiayan's mother poisoning my medicinal dishes? I looked at him blankly. In my previous life, after marrying into the Marquis's household, I rarely saw Meng Jing. He always stayed in a secluded courtyard with few people, keeping only a handful of personal servants. Only once, when the little fox cub I'd adopted wandered into his study while playing, accidentally knocked over a candle, and burned most of his library. By the time I rushed to the west wing where he lived, the fire had already been extinguished. His library lay in utter disarray. Meng Jing stood alone before the house, clad only in a thin outer robe, silent for a long time. I scooped up the trembling little fox cub huddled in the corner and apologized to him guiltily. It's my fault. I didn't close the window, letting it escape. You can tally the losses. I'll compensate you. At that moment, he looked at me and spoke softly. This library was a gift from my mother before she passed away. Sister-in-law, how do you plan to make amends? I stood frozen like a piece of wood, my eyes reddening with remorse. His haunting gaze fell upon the kitten in my arms. I shuddered violently and took a step back. Brother, this little fox cub is a life too. Can you spare it? My voice grew fainter with each word. After a long silence, just when I thought Meng Jing wouldn't speak again, he suddenly laughed aloud. Sister-in-law, Do I look like such a heartless person? I froze for a moment. Then I saw him turn his back, casually waving at me. I won't live much longer anyway. These things can't be taken with me. Just consider them offerings you've burned for me in advance. I stared blankly as his frail figure gradually faded into the night. It took me a long time to snap out of it. Later, I painstakingly identified several book titles from the ashes. I asked Father to borrow them from old acquaintances, then spent over a month copying them word for word by hand before binding them into volumes myself. But before I could deliver them to him, Meng Jing passed away suddenly. The next day, I overheard Meng Jian speaking with his mother and learned the reason Meng Jing's injuries had never healed. It turned out that his mother, who had always been gentle and kind, had been poisoning the medicinal broth he drank daily to ensure her younger son, Meng Jian, would inherit the title. Returning to my room, the shock lingered long after. Perhaps I recalled how my cat had once destroyed the library his mother had bequeathed to him. Or maybe it was the memory of his solitary, frail figure. A few clear tears slowly trickled down my cheeks. At that moment, only one thought occupied my mind. If I had known earlier about Lady Meng poisoning him, would he still be alive? Would I still have the chance to return the copied books to him? As my thoughts returned, I suddenly found myself staring into Meng Jing's deep, unfathomable eyes. I spoke out blankly, perhaps it's to make up for some regrets. Meng Jing froze for a moment, just as I thought he wouldn't respond to my nonsensical words. He looked at me and suddenly spoke with profound meaning. I wonder if second miss he has finished copying the book to atone for that little fox cub? I've been waiting quite a while. Silver moonlight crept up the window lattice, pooling in Meng Jing's smiling eyes. All was silent. His pale pupils reflected my own face, still gaping in astonishment. You actually. He made a shushing gesture toward me. Glancing at the wine flask on the table, he spoke softly. My lady, shall we drink the wedding wine? Staring at his clear, handsome face, my heart pounded like a drum. Not long after Meng Jing and I were married, in the 12th year of the Qingli era, Emperor Yong issued his policy to reduce the power of the feudal lords. This sparked discontent among the regional warlords, who launched the Three Feudal Lords Rebellion. Meng Jing was entrusted with the critical mission, dispatched by Emperor Yong to suppress the rebellion. Before his departure, I couldn't help but urge him repeatedly. Ever since your recovery, that Li woman has been plotting against you openly and covertly, never ceasing her schemes. On this southern expedition, she will surely attempt everything to prevent you from achieving glory. You must be extremely cautious. Meng Jing, clad in silver-white armor, looked at me and nodded slowly. Yet what he said was, My lady, this spring-welcoming bun you've styled today is truly lovely. Me. The bugle call from the city ramparts tore through the morning mist. Meng Jing's swift mount startled the birds nesting in the old locust tree. The clang of armor mingled with his clear laughter. Wait for me to return. I'll personally style your hair. Meng Jing was gone. Not long after, Meng Jian proposed to his mother that they welcome Du Sanyang into the household. Upon hearing it was merely to take her as a secondary wife, Mother Meng raised no objection. What surprised me was that Du Sanyang agreed to this status, which didn't even qualify as a formal concubine. I only learned the truth through idle gossip. Earlier, Du Sanyang's elder brother had heard of her public quarrel with Meng Jian and assumed Meng had abandoned her. So when the gambling house came demanding payment again, he offered his own sister as collateral. When Meng Jian went searching for Du Sanyang, he discovered she had already been sold by a broker to the 100 Flowers Pavilion. Perhaps this upheaval made Du Sanyang abandon all thoughts of supporting herself. On the day the dumpling shop closed, I stared at the withered leaves outside the window, sighing deeply for a long while. On the day Du Sanyang entered the mansion, the wedding ceremony was exceedingly frugal. Only a single red sedan chair carried her through the side gate. After supper, I stepped out for a stroll to aid digestion and chanced upon Meng Jian drinking alone beneath the moon. I intended to turn and leave swiftly, but he stood directly in my path. "Ai, do you truly wish to avoid me?" The scent of alcohol on his breath made me frown, and I unconsciously took a step back. "Your new bride awaits you inside. I'm not the one you should be seeing." Meng Jian's face glowed with an unnatural flush. He was clearly quite drunk. His voice trembled as he spoke. "Miaoyi. Lately, I keep remembering our past life. I even recall our child." In an instant, my heart felt pierced by 1,000 soft needles. Red-eyed, I shouted back. "Meng Jian, you have no right to speak of Xiao Zhou." Meng Jian opened his mouth, 1,000 words on his lips, only to utter a bitter, hoarse apology. What is there to apologize for? Apologize for how I once washed his hands and cooked his meals, painstakingly managing every detail of the household for him? Yet in the end, he fell for Du Sanyang, who only made him a bowl of wontons. On his deathbed, did he regret not divorcing me to give her the status of a proper wife? Or was he sorry that since Xiao Zhou's birth, he had been distant toward him because of me, failing to fulfill even a shred of a father's duty? But none of that mattered anymore. I folded my sleeves and looked at him. "Meng Jian, isn't this what you always wanted?" His eyes reddened as he shook his head. "No. It's not like that." I had no desire to speak further and was about to turn away. A shrill voice suddenly pierced the air behind me. "What are you doing?" Du Sanyang lunged before me, yanking off her red veil, her eyes bulging with fury as she glared at me. "He Miaoyi. You, a married woman, seducing another man in the dead of night. Have you no shame?" Her hand shot up toward my cheek, but I seized her wrist. The warmth in my eyes instantly froze. "Which eye of yours saw me seducing your man? And Du Sanyang, I haven't settled the score with you yet for destroying my mother's keepsake." Du Sanyang sneered coldly. "You had it coming." She suddenly struggled and screamed. "You shameless bitch! I'll kill you!" As the words fell, Meng Jian beside her suddenly slapped her across the face. "Enough! You vulgar common woman! Have you no shame?" Staggering to the ground, Du Sanyang clutched her swollen cheek, staring up at Meng Jian in disbelief. "You actually hit me for that slut?" Tears welled in her bloodshot eyes. "When you, young Marquis Meng, loved me, I was straightforward and generous. But when you grew tired of me, you called me a vulgar woman at every turn. I truly want to ask you, did you, young Marquis Meng, ever truly love me at all?" Du Sanyang's self-destructive confession made Meng Jian look away. His conscience pricked. That night, under Du Sanyang's burning gaze, he said nothing. 18 days passed one after another. Meng Jing would occasionally send messengers bearing letters for me. Their contents were mostly trivial matters, scenes he'd witnessed that day, amusing incidents he'd encountered. How could I not know the enemy forces outnumbered the troops Emperor Yong had sent Meng Jing by more than double? The weight of responsibility on his shoulders was immense, his situation perilous. Yet he spoke to me thus only to spare me worry. With the imperial examinations approaching, news arrived from the front. Meng Jing had infiltrated the rebel camp alone and captured one of their generals alive. The Emperor of Yong, overjoyed, bestowed many more gifts upon the Meng household. Meng Jian, who had always been sheltered by his mother, must have sensed an unprecedented crisis. To pass the imperial examinations, he spent his days holed up in the study, burning the midnight oil. His mother was deeply gratified. She instructed Du Sanyang to personally prepare all 3 meals she sent to Meng Jian each day. Du Sanyang rose before the roosters crowed and slept after the dogs had settled, seething with resentment yet unable to voice her grievances. The day before the imperial examination results were announced, Meng Jian approached me with solemn certainty. declaring he would undoubtedly become the top scholar. I responded flatly, "Oh? Congratulations then." Noticing my dismissive tone, Meng Jiayan let out a sinister chuckle. "You wouldn't still be waiting for that short-lived bastard of an elder brother of mine, would you?" My eyelid twitched, a vague sense of foreboding rising within me. "What do you mean?" Meng Jiayan seized my wrist, yanking me close to his chest. "The news that he's already dead." My mind went blank. Impossible. The assassins my mother sent to kill him reported 3 days ago that when they found Meng Jing, he was already dead from an arrow wound. Tears fell without warning. My eyes read. I murmured, "How could that be?" Meng Jiayan tightened his grip. "How is it impossible? Did you really think Meng Jing was some martial arts prodigy who could win this unwinnable battle against overwhelming odds? And if you hadn't told him about my mother poisoning his medicinal soup, he would have died long ago." I wrenched my hand free and slapped him hard across the face. "Meng Jiayan, you're shameless." A trickle of blood spilled from the corner of his mouth. He casually wiped it away with his hand, lifting his heavy, clouded eyes. He looked at me, revealing a twisted, sickening smile. How could he ever compare to me? Now that he's dead, Father will pass the title to me soon. Once the imperial examination results are announced tomorrow, my political career will soar. Do you intend to mourn him in widowhood for the rest of your life? Why not come with me? I snorted derisively, fixing Meng Jiayan with a piercing stare as I spat out each word. "Dream on." His smile froze instantly. That night, the old Marquis Meng suddenly fell gravely ill. Servants carried out basin after basin of blood-tinged fluid. I stood guard outside the door with the other servants of the Meng household. The old steward, frantic with worry, exclaimed, "The Marquis has always been robust. How could he suddenly fall so gravely ill?" I looked thoughtfully at the Marquis's mother, who stood nearby, weeping uncontrollably. She wiped her tears with a handkerchief. Yet a fleeting, vicious glint flashed in her eyes. She then ordered a servant standing beside her, "Hurry and bring the medicinal broth to the Marquis." Hearing this, a chill instantly ran through my entire body. Before a stick of incense could burn out, low, muffled sobs began to drift from the old Marquis's bedroom. "Mrs. Meng stumbled out, her hair disheveled, her eyes vacant. She uttered only one sentence: "The Marquis has passed." At that very moment, a bolt of lightning split the silent night sky, illuminating Lady Meng's deathly pale face. Rolling thunder followed, its roar drowned out by the wails of the mourners. Lady Meng suddenly turned her gaze toward me. My hand, hidden beneath my sleeve, clenched into a fist. Lady Meng bound me with hemp rope and locked me in the woodshed. Fortunately, I had already sensed the unusual atmosphere in the Meng household and written a letter to my elder brother stationed at the frontier. Before leaving, Mother Meng spoke to me in a sinister tone. "You nearly ruined my son's future. You wretch." I closed my eyes calmly. "What goes around comes around. You won't end well," she exclaimed angrily. "If not for tomorrow's imperial examination results, I'd tear your mouth to shreds." After Lady Meng departed, I turned to gaze at the full moon suspended in the night sky outside my window. I wondered if, as the old Marquis was forced to drink the poison today, he regretted his own actions, how he'd impatiently welcomed Lady Li and her son into the mansion less than 3 months after his first wife's death. Later, he even enabled Lady Li to poison his own eldest son. The next morning, Lady Meng sent people to check the examination results early. That night, I pressed my ear against the crack in the woodshed door, listening to 2 maids whispering. I heard our second young master failed the exams. Lady Meng has been raging all day. I also heard that a maid accidentally placed a potted plant in the wrong spot while arranging them in the courtyard. Lady Meng accused her of disrupting the household's feng shui, claiming it caused the second young master's failure. She had the maid beaten to death on the spot, truly terrifying. Though the second young master lacks his elder brother's scholarly talent. He shouldn't have failed the exams. What on earth is going on? The young maid outside the door deliberately lowered her voice. My friend who does odd jobs at the Duke's mansion told me the second young master was actually ranked second in the spring's imperial examinations. But that elder brother of Du San Young, while drunk at a tea house, blurted out that his sister's husband's maternal grandfather had close ties with that rebellious Prince of Qin. He even boasted that once Prince Qin captured the capital with his troops, he'd be rewarded with a high-ranking official post. Later, these words reached Emperor Yang's ears through someone with ulterior motives. In a fit of rage, he annulled the second young master's results and had Du San Young's elder brother thrown into a death cell. Madame Meng will likely hear this news soon. Alas, the Meng household has been utterly ruined by that Du sibling pair. Who knows if it might even implicate us servants. Just as we spoke, hurried footsteps echoed outside the door. Then, flames erupted, illuminating the entire Meng residence. The young emperor ordered the entire Meng household to be surrounded and destroyed. The commander leading the troops was my elder brother, who had rushed here from the frontier. Miaoyi, are you all right? I untied the ropes binding me and shook my head at him. I'm fine. Brother. I glanced at the imperial guards behind him. Before I could ask, my brother's expression turned grave. Li's father, the Prince of Li, has also rebelled. My heart skipped a beat. Prince Li's fiefdom lay closest to the capital. If he too had rebelled, the capital would surely be plunged into chaos. Was the emperor intending to capture Lady Li to threaten Prince Li? As my words fell, a soldier suddenly reported. General, we just captured Lady Li. But she had already poisoned herself. What about Meng Jiayuan? He escaped through a secret passage. We're sending men to pursue him. I froze in place. This lifetime had become so tangled. My elder brother informed me. Li Shi had sent assassins to find the body of Meng Jing, who had been shot dead. They had already had the coroner examine it. It was not him. Yet now, they still had no news of Meng Jing. Regardless, no news was the best news. My heart settled somewhat. Outside, the situation was turbulent, and people were in a state of panic. For safety's sake, my elder brother brought me back to the Earl's residence. That night, I paced restlessly in the courtyard, my mind troubled. Suddenly, a figure clad in black materialized out of nowhere, striking my neck with a palm strike. When I awoke again, I found myself in a jolting carriage. Meng Jiayan, who had vanished long ago, sat beside me. His voice was soft. You're awake. After scanning the surroundings, I looked at him warily. Where are you taking me? He suddenly reached out toward me, just as his fingers were about to touch my cheek. I jerked my head away. He caught the trace of disgust in my eyes. Meng Jiayan clenched his fist in frustration, withdrawing his hand frozen midair. I will wait until the day you choose to stay by my side willingly. I pinched my thigh hard to suppress the churning sensation in my stomach. I tentatively asked again, where is Du San Young? At those words, Meng Jiayan's expression instantly turned cold. That bitch ruined everything I'd built. Naturally, I chopped off her limbs and tossed her into the mountains to feed the wolves. My face drained of color. Ultimately, I couldn't suppress the wave of nausea welling up inside. I swiftly pulled back the carriage curtain and retched. As I leaned out, I suddenly realized the scenery outside the carriage was entirely unfamiliar. Realizing this, my heart clenched. Beneath the court's tight security, Meng Jiayan had actually taken me out of the capital. After returning to the carriage, Meng Jiayan thoughtfully handed me a cup of water. His voice was icy. Don't be afraid. What I did to her was just what that bitch deserved. As long as you obey me, I won't treat you like that. Beads of sweat formed on my forehead as I tremblingly accepted the cup from his hand. Main Jayan's lips curved in satisfaction before he leaned back, closed his eyes, and drifted into a light slumber. Rest a while. We'll be there soon. I pretended to close my eyes, then secretly pulled out my hairpin and picked the pearl from its head. I concealed them in my sleeve, then shook them out the window. Main Jayan seemed utterly exhausted. His eyes closed the entire time. He remained completely unaware of everything I had done. After the carriage came to a stop, I heard voices outside. How could you be so reckless? Bringing the second young miss of the He family to our camp? She doesn't remember the route here. Does she? Grandfather, rest assured. Your grandson has been with her the entire time. Even if she remembered the route, she'd have no chance to send word. Very well. Your mother risked her life to save you. You must prove worthy of her sacrifice. I understand, grandfather. So this was it, Main Jayan had defected to Princely Fan, intending to join him in rebellion. Main Jayan blindfolded me with a silk ribbon, took my hand, and led me step by step into the bridal chamber he had personally prepared. I was wrong. Once everything settles tomorrow, I will repay you in Xiaozhou for everything I owed you in my past life. I tore the silk ribbon from my eyes, glaring at the wedding wine on the table. I roared in fury, Main Jayan, even if I die, I'll never marry you again. He began untying his sash with deliberate slowness. Soon you won't have the strength to resist me. Give me another child. Please? My hand shot up instinctively, slapping him across the face. Disgusting. Main Jayan's face was struck off-center by my blow. Just as he froze in shock, an arrow smashed through the window, piercing his shoulder. In an instant, the dim courtyard erupted in flames. Main Jayan clutched his shoulder, blood gushing freely, and stumbled to the window. He stared out in disbelief. Main Jing, how did he find this place? Suddenly, he seemed to grasp something. His expression twisted into a savage grimace. Main Jayan seized my throat. His voice gritted with fury. Where are your jeweled hairpins? It was only later, after years of seclusion within his estate, that he gradually faded from public view. Little did I expect that the next news of him would be the grim tidings of his impending demise. I spat out each syllable. You fool. As the words left my lips, Main Jayan's back was pierced by multiple arrows. He collapsed with a thud. Main Jing, who had rushed over, pulled me into his arms. Are you okay? I clung to him tightly, my eyes instantly filled with tears. I knew you weren't dead. Main Jing's eyes reddened too, without your permission. How could I ever abandon you? Within days, the other 3 princes were captured alive. Thus, the rebellion was utterly crushed. For his role in suppressing the rebellion, Main Jing was personally infected by Emperor Yong as the Marquis of Courage and Fortitude. For aiding Main Jing in locating Princely Fan's camp, I was granted the title of second-rank noble consort. All was settled. Only then did I learn that Main Jing's feigned death had been deliberate. His plan was for the Li clan to leak the news to Princely Fan. This would lower the prince's guard, allowing them to ambush and defeat his forces one by one. Upon learning the truth, I grabbed Main Jing by the ear. Well done. You dared to hide this even from me. He begged for mercy. Yet I chased him around the courtyard, beating him soundly. The servants dared not intervene, merely pretending to be busy. At this very moment, on the branches, orioles sing, urging tender leaves to sprout before the eaves. Swallows dance, pecking at fresh mud. The end.